Welcome. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Business Resilience Masterclass. My name is SIPHOKAZI KWAKWENI, and I am from the Lifelong Learning Academy. I am going to be your facilitator for today, but most important for myself, I am a lifelong learner. So I'm also here to learn as much as possible from our guest speakers. We have a great lineup for you today, and I will be introducing you to our speakers shortly. But before I do that, just to take you through what the format of this masterclass is going to be, we will have an official opening and welcome from the PBF, from SIPHO MBELE, of which I'll hand over to him shortly. But before that, I'm also going to take you through our masterclass protocols, nothing major, just some house rules. And then I will introduce you to our speakers. We've got 3 speakers today who will be talking about resilience, innovation, all kinds of interesting things that we can be applying within our businesses. And we'll also allow room for some questions and answers and any input from our participants. And lastly, we'll have closing remarks. And obviously then the last bit of the event, which is closing. And then just for some protocols, I don't like using the word rules, so hence the word protocols. So please, I invite everyone to please keep your microphones on mute throughout the session, unless you are asking a question during the question and answer section, which will be allocated to you. You are more than welcome to keep your cameras on or off, whatever you prefer, but it does help when the cameras are off with the network, you know, just to make things nice and faster. And as I've mentioned, we will allow participants to make input or ask questions after each and every speaker. And you are more than welcome to ask questions in the chat box, to make input in the chat box, any feedback, any suggestions. And you are also welcome to share any helpful information for businesses in the chat box. The session is going to be an hour long. And last but not least, please do have fun. We're all here to learn. We're all here to connect with each other. And without wasting any time, before I introduce our guest speakers, I'm going to hand over to SIPHO to do the official welcoming from the PBF. Thank you very much, SIPHO.
Thank you, SIPHOKAZI. Let me take this opportunity to welcome everyone to these interesting discussions. In my opening remarks, I want to quote Albert Einstein when he said, "In the middle of every difficulty lies an opportunity." What can we learn from that is that successful countries in the world, in Singapore, China, Europe, and US, if you follow their history, they've been through difficult periods. What has made them to survive or to be successful countries is because they were open for new opportunities, and secondly, they apply new strategies. If you read the book of Steve Jobs, I want to quote something which is very interesting. They say the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do that. People who are crazy enough to change are the ones who will do that. I just also want to share something before I close in my opening remarks, which is very important. The book by Trevor Manuel, Choice Not a Fate. Trevor Manuel is sharing a story about a young colleague. His name is Paul Jordan. Paul Jordan went to former Minister Trevor Manuel while he was still a Minister of Trade in Industry. He said to the minister, Trevor Manuel, "I have this big idea. I want us to do something about it." Trevor Manuel asked him, "What is that?" He said, "I want us to start a project called KUHA in Eastern Cape." Those who understand the special economic zones, they'll tell you, KUHA is one of the biggest projects. But that project was started by a young man who was 25-year-old that time, when Mr. Manuel was the Minister of Trade and Industry. Why I'm sharing these important stories is that currently we are faced with what we call the new order. This is a new way of doing things. This is a new life. This is a new normal. Previously, we'll go to one room and have a meeting. Now we're doing things differently. We're engaging with society through webinar, through Facebook, through technology. So if you go deep, most of the successful businesses, they've done it because they're able to adapt to change. While they say change is pain, but also change brings new opportunities. From the PBF's point of view, we're of the view that there are lessons that we can learn. The solutions are not foreign, but the solutions are amongst ourselves. There's new things that we can bring, that we can work on, that can make us to survive. Businesses are going through challenges, but these challenges, as I've said before, they are also providing new opportunities for all of us. In conclusion, I want to quote Barack Obama. In his book, The Odyssey of Hope, Obama talks about hope. He brought hope in the Americans. It is through hope and through innovation that every business can succeed. In that note, SIPHOKAZI, I want to say thanks, and I'm looking forward to this interesting, exciting discussions. And I want to hear views from different speakers, and I hope people will engage constructively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, SIPHO. Thank you, thank you. I am definitely holding on to your message of hope and innovation. And that's exactly why we have these masterclasses. It is to bring hope, it is to bring innovation, it is to bring all kinds of great ideas so that we can all navigate this new normal, this new order that we find ourselves in. Without wasting any time, I am going to introduce our very first speaker. Well, I'm going to introduce all three speakers first so that you know who's coming, and then I'm going to hand over to the speakers. So our very first speaker is TSHEPO, MATLOU, who's an executive coach, and he will be sharing with us on 5, let me just find my notes, 5 steps to maintain resilience. And after TSHEPO, we've got CASSIDY da Silva, who's from Jelly and Custard, who is a female entrepreneur who is going to share with us her journey of resilience during these challenging times. And last but not least, we've got STEPH, NIEKERK, who is a game designer and engagement lead, who's going to talk about the innovative work that she does. And this week, we've done it intentionally, where we have 2 women who'll be wrapping up. Last week, we had 2 men, and obviously, we are still in Women's Month, so we wanted to finish off with some Mbokodo power. And without wasting any time, I'm going to hand over to TSHEPO to take us through his presentation on resilience. Thank you very much, TSHEPO. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is and I'm happy to be here today. Just want to close that. All right. So I've put together the 5 important things that I believe that one can actually use in order for them to maintain resilience during these difficult times. Can we go to the next slide? Great. So the first one that I want to talk to is each and every person who is listening right now, sitting at home or wherever you are. The question that I want to ask you is, what is the greatest resource that you have in your life? It can be people, it can be money, it can be career, it can be anything that you associate with yourself as a resource. And if that resource can always maintain you, if that resource can always be with you wherever you are. And I've had an engagement recently where I said to everyone, and I'm going to say it here, that the greatest resource that we all have is ourselves, more than things that we can refer to. Because everything that we have around us and on earth at some point will perish. The biggest question that we need to start with when we talk about self-reflection, because everything in our life starts with us knowing where we are. It starts with us saying, where am I right now? Who am I right now? And once we have that answer, we need to be able to reflect on the mirror and look at the mirror. And there's this phrase that says, no matter how broken the mirror is, it doesn't mean you are broken. So no matter what situations or circumstances that you're currently dealing with, please note that you are not those circumstances. You're not a cracked mirror. The mirror is the one that is cracked, but not you. So we shouldn't let situations that are beyond our control us. We should be able to take up control in our own hands. So it starts with being aware of where we are. How am I breathing? How am I moving? Who do I talk to? And also, we need to be able to say, what purpose are we serving as we live on earth? As you reflect on yourself, what is it that you're doing that actually supports other people? What is it that you're doing in order for you to connect with others. And lastly, in terms of self-reflection, is to identify yourself. So what do you identify yourself with? What is it that you are actually can refer yourself as? I know all of us, we are human beings, but as you reflect, you need to be able to say, how do I identify myself? How do people identify myself? And always remember, when you self-reflect, it's more about the truth that you feel and see in you than what other people are giving you. Next slide. The second thing is to accept change. There is change that we're faced with. I was listening to SIPHO earlier talking about 4IR, and something that came to my head is, we have been talking about 4IR for some time now. And the biggest question that I have in my head is, have we suddenly been pushed to work online? Have we suddenly been pushed to start connecting on Zoom, on Teams? Have we suddenly been pushed to actually adapt technology and work in terms of what is being provided? We are now buying things online. We actually, there's so many e-commerce things that are actually popping up, and people are now taking their businesses online. So the question is, how comfortable are you with change? Because one thing that change does, it brings continuous learning. Because when there is change, there are few things that we can learn. No, some people told me they didn't know how to record on Zoom, or didn't know how to record on Teams. We took things for granted. So the biggest thing that we need to be asking ourselves is, have we ever experienced change? Because it comes from history. If you have experienced change, then it means that you can change again. If you have done it before, it means you will be able to do it again. How do you adjust? How do you adjust from things that have been put before you in order for you to be able to adapt? And there's something that I like about butterflies. It says, if nothing ever changed, there will not be butterflies. And this is true. During these difficult times, we need to be able to say, have I ever been in a difficult situation? How did I come out of that situation? And if I have, how do I use that experience to be able to come out of it? Next slide, please. We need to cultivate our connections. Who are the people that work with you? Who are the people that are close to you? Who are the people that you have always had support, or you have supported in the past? And the biggest thing for all of us is to start to develop those relationships and to start sharing our experiences, to start learning from other people's experiences. And at the end of the day, it's about connecting those dots in order for us to be able to achieve what we want to achieve, in order for us to be able to continue to be resilient in these difficult times. So the biggest question that I'm leaving you with is, can you use your connections to survive and be more resilient in terms of what we are facing? And the fourth step that I want to bring to your attention is, you can see the target for everyone was the middle target. But as you shoot, everyone is starting to hit next to the target. And that is very important. You can put your goals, you can have your dreams. Possibilities are they might not come out the way you set them to come out. And that is very critical, especially when we talk about setting up goals. What is the future state that you want to have as a person, as a business? What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you want to bring out of everything that you have learned, of everything that you have? Then you can start setting the steps on how to. So you need to say, what is the future? What is it that I want to achieve in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months? And once you have written them down, then you need to come up with steps, because steps will lead you to actions, and timelines will lead you to be able to achieve. The biggest thing that we find is people who do not set timelines on their goals do not achieve. So you must also be able to monitor yourself as a person. Hold yourself accountable for what you want to achieve. We are given one shot on earth to be alive, and we can only use that one shot while we are still here. Therefore, it is in our hands and it's our responsibility to be able to achieve what we set ourselves to achieve. Next slide. At the end of the day, it's about you taking charge of your life. It's about you taking charge of everything that you want to achieve. Therefore, as you set the goals, as you connect with people, you need to be saying, oh, I've self-reflected. But what is it that is within my control and what is it that is not within my control. Once you've identified that, you need to be able to say, what is not within my control, I cannot change. But what is within my control, I can change. So I invite all of you, as you listen, as we connect, to say, you are a resilient person. You have survived everything that you have survived, that you know personally, that you have experienced personally. We might not share the same experiences, but you have something that you have survived as a person. You have something that you have come through as a person. You have something that you were able to overcome until this day. So I invite you to take control. The control center of your life is in your attitude, is in your behavior, is in your action. Take the actions and be more resilient. Remember, you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, SIPHO. That was very inspirational, very powerful. And one of the things that I am holding on to there is around awareness, reflection. And that really speaks to mindfulness. You know, it is really about being mindful of who you are and where you want to go, accepting change, cultivating connections, networking, community, which is exactly what we are trying to do here, is to create a community of resilient businesses, and obviously then setting of goals. I'm going to open up to the participants if there's any questions at this point in time before we move on to our next speaker. And you've got a question, you can either unmute your mic and ask the question online, or you can also use the chat box for that. I see there's a comment there from Theo. Thank you very much, Theo. Change is inevitable, yet as humans, we are most resistant to it. One reason is that we don't like to be forced out of our comfort zone. Change does that. It forces us out of our comfort zone. Instead of resisting change, we must embrace it, because it's the only way to get better, is to move out of your comfort zone. Thank you so much for that, Theo. And then any other input before I move on to the next speaker? I will stop sharing the presentation now, and I am going to introduce or hand over to Cassie, who can share with us her journey as a female entrepreneur during these times. Thank you very much, Cassie. Over to you.
Thank you so much, SIPHOKAZI. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, SIPHO. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's lovely. Can everyone hear me okay? Just a thumbs up, or I'm sure you can hear me. Okay, great. Okay, just speaking about resilience, just as a female entrepreneur, just as SIPHOKAZI was just saying, for me, I'd like to just kind of take it back a little bit and talk about where it all kind of started for me. And for me, it's also, I just want to share a little bit of my background, just so that my journey of resilience and innovation and all these things kind of makes sense to everyone. So just a little bit about my background is I come from sound engineering background. I've been in the community and commercial radio space. I've also been in PR, social media, content creation, event production, planning, and managing. So a wide variety of things. And for me, it took me back, this is about 10 years ago or so, when I was working for a commercial corporate radio station, and I was in an environment that was very much about, you're very rigid, and you come in at 8:30 and you finish at 5 on the dot. You cannot leave at 5 to 5 or 4 to 5 or whatever it is. But I was also working most weekends, and I was burning the candle on both ends for a corporate business that I found I wasn't getting any self-satisfaction from. And exactly as SIPHO said, I'm also all about timelines and setting timelines for goals that I'd like to achieve, not necessarily saying where would you like to be in 5 years, but goals like, okay, within this month, I'd like to do this, or within this week, I'd like to do this. I'm very much a planner, so I've got a notebook with me all the time. My notebook's right next to me. And in the space that I was in 10 years ago, I started reading books of people that I admired and I wanted to learn from. And two of them that really stood out for me was, the one was Sheryl Sandberg. She's actually the chief operating officer for Facebook. And as one of the few female corporate executives, I really wanted to learn what it is that got her into that space. You know, how did she get there? What did she do? What did she learn? And her book is actually called Lean In: Women, Work, and the Will to Lead. And I absolutely loved it. And it focused on issues such as the lack of women in government and in business leadership positions, and feminism. And some of the things that I learned from the book is that it's so important to put yourself at the same table as those executives that you would want to, that you kind of look up to, actually. So instead of being on the sidelines and looking in all the time, pull up a chair, sit down at that table, and just experience it all, and just get your mind in a different mindset, basically. One of the other books that I read that really inspired me was also from Richard Branson, and his understanding of his way and his understanding of delegating and working with staff was super, super important for me, because I really struggled with delegating in general. I think all women have that kind of a struggle. I mean, we prefer to rather do something ourselves than explain it to someone else and allow them to do it and not do it the way that we see it fit. Or maybe it's just me. But I really struggled with that. And then also one of the other factors that I learned, or one of the other points that I learned from his book, is that you shouldn't be embarrassed about your failures. So failing is important because it's all part of the learning process. We all need to learn. So you need to fail, because we need to learn from those mistakes that we do and pick ourselves up and just get going again. So I kind of took all of these amazing tidbits that I was learning from all these books. I made a timeline for myself, and I decided to just go for it. I quit my job. I started a business. It was going to be about just events specifically, and it's called CP Sounds. It caters to DJing, sound and lighting, decor, entertainment acts, MCs, and production managing, and front of house and back of house. And some of the events that we covered were weddings, media launches, birthday parties of all ages, and end-of-year corporate celebrations, music festivals, comedy shows. It was going really, really great. I'm extremely thankful that it was. And I can say was because all of a sudden COVID-19 hit, and it threw everything for a curveball. So we were getting in a routine. You know, business gets into a routine where you know your busy period of time and you know your down period of time. And we were getting into that. So we were putting plans in place during the downtime. This is what we do. This is what we wouldn't do. And like I said, COVID-19 hit. So all events got cancelled. Majority of them got cancelled. And some were postponed. But thankfully, we also offer PR and social media underneath the same bracket of the business. And I think, like all people, I had a moment of panic. I had a moment of, I think it was about a moment of freak out. Maybe when President Cyril was telling us what was going to happen, I just sat there and I froze. And I kind of took a minute. And then luckily enough, I've been blessed with parents who are business owners, both of them. And I've actually learned so much from them, not only from watching them and learning how they've gone through everything, but just listening to them and listening how they deal with their staff, how they deal with issues that have come up. And resilience is definitely something that they've taught me. You know, tough times will come and go, and this clearly is the toughest time for majority of business owners. And just coming out of this and staying resilient and persistent. And those are the things that will turn a business for the better. And instead of getting into the slump, which is the direction that my mind was going in, I kind of turned it around very quickly and thought, okay, how can I be more innovative? What is this new method or new idea or new product? Like, am I able to be innovative? What does that mean? What is innovation? What are all these new things that people are talking about? You know, this got me thinking about how to continue the business. How do I offer something different, but still be safe at the same time and keep a social distance? How do I do an event with 15,000 people and have social distance? You know, things like that. I was thinking practically. So lots of ideas came up, but logistically, they just did not work. So I kept thinking about the word innovation, and I took a lot of reflection time, and I wrote a lot, and I journaled, and I tried to just almost mind map it out for myself. And I knew that I wanted to do something on a virtual platform, but I wasn't sure what it all entailed. So I was actually chatting to a client of mine, and she was telling me about her baby's birthday coming up, and things kind of just spun off from there. I started thinking, okay, kids' birthdays, how do parents manage this? I've got little cousins, you know, how do we keep safe? We none of us want to get sick, but how do we continue living and still, you know, continue being safe at the same time? And in that same breath of me thinking all these things, Jelly and Custard was born. And Jelly and Custard is a new business that I started in lockdown. It was in May of this year, and it focuses specifically on a kids virtual events company. So we provide the convenience of celebrating your little ones' milestones. And when I say little ones, I don't just mean, you know, your 1 to 10-year-olds. Our kids are always our kids. That's something that my mom always tells me. So no matter the age, there is no age limit. We're able to assist without the added stress of coordinating anything on your own. And we deliver all goods directly to your home, as well as to those who may be attending the party virtually. And on the website, we've created a website where we've curated packages on there where, you know, parents can lead off of. Sometimes it's not easy to start with an idea if you aren't in a creative space. So, you know, we've got packages that you can kind of lead off of, or we can customize something that suits you specifically or your budget, whichever it is. And some of the other things that we offer, you know, are the planning and coordinating, as I mentioned, virtual edutainment, which is entertainment and education put together, edutainment. So we try and make sure that the kids that are logging on via a virtual link are met by a qualified facilitator who will then entertain the kids or go through activities with them or leave them with something like a sing-song or whatever it is, obviously according to their age. The other things that we offer, of course, are balloons, party boxes, which cater to vegan and vegetarian and pescatarians, all of those things, because we also need to keep that in mind in this day and age. And then we also try and customize things to make them a lot more personal for every single drop-off. We also do cake smashing, which is something that all the little ones absolutely love. Cakes start at 18 centimeters and go all the way to 26 centimeters, which are 3 layers of cake, which is amazing. And then the online invitation is also something that we look into. So we create that for parents, we send it out to all the guests, and we manage all the RSVPs. And yeah, just keeping social distancing. Obviously, you know, social distancing has forced us all to embrace, as we like to say, the new normal, but it's also taught us how to be innovative. Some of us are still trying to get there. I feel like we will all get there. You know, we're all being forced to go into that direction, which is amazing, because it's forced people like my gran, you know, to learn how to do WhatsApp and all these other things. So just keeping all of these things in mind while still celebrating all these little milestones virtually. You know, that's what I specifically want to impart with everyone, and that knowing that we are on level 2 now. So this is also where resilience and persistence comes into play for me. I feel like, okay, now we're on level 2, but people and parents still need to maintain that safe distance. We still need to, you know, try and develop the skill to recover from all these difficult, tough times. And it's important for me to believe in my brand, and important for you to believe in your brand, whatever it might be, to ensure its success. So my attitude for every day is to wake up each morning with a determination to have fun, learn something new, and try something different, just as SIPHOKAZI actually also shared earlier. So I'd like to ask everyone out there, you know, what is your daily attitude? When you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you think about? Is it, ugh, I don't want to do this today? Then you're not doing what you should be doing. That's just what I want to leave with you today.
Thank you so much, Cassie. That is beautiful. And I'm very interested in hearing from our participants and answering that question. What do they wake up with every morning? What keeps you going? What has been keeping you going during these times? Remember, we're all here to learn from each other. So we definitely would love to hear from you. What has kept you going? And if I can just add on to what you were saying, Cassie, around virtual events, which is what we have been doing in the past couple of months. I think one of the greatest benefits of it is that now we are no longer limited to geography. There's been a number of opportunities that we've been able to attend or events virtually, obviously if load shedding is not happening in your space, and ordinarily things that would not be able to attend because you are either in Cape Town or either you're in Joburg, we have to travel. So there's definitely been a lot of benefits that do come, and obviously also practicing safety. I can see Steph has also responded. Their small bits of gratitude has kept her going. Beautiful, I love that, Steph. Whenever I wake up, I always ask myself, how do I want to show up today? And what is my intention for the day? I always set an intention for the day. What is my goal? And each and every day. I'm going to hand over now. Before I hand over to Steph, I just want to read another input that we've gotten. CZ says, I would say my motivation is my kids. If I would stop going, then I would have failed them. Absolutely. I can so relate to that. My daughter also keeps me going. So we all have different kinds of things that motivate us. And I think mostly in these times, South Africa is also a great motivation. The economy. I mean, we all have a responsibility. And I think gone are the days now we can only be looking to government to solve these problems. It is up to us as small businesses to also contribute to the economy. So thank you very much, Cassie, for that powerful input. And I'm going to invite...
I'd like to add to that quickly. So I often find when I wake up in the morning, I still have a lot of resistance to change because I feel very pulled to go back to doing and running my business the way I used to. And I know that I need to change. So what I find is if I can get myself into a comfort zone. So for example, just sitting here now, I know that I'm in a very neutral zone. I know I'm safe. No one can harm me. It's unlikely. And I feel emotionally comfortable. But when I walk out of this room, I have the choice of going back to feeling resistant, or I can make a conscious decision to go out feeling resilient and open to change. So I'm sure that when I go out into the world, that I go out feeling open to change, because that way I am resilient, if that makes any sense to you, SIPHO.
Absolutely, Trish. Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. And thank you for that input, Trish. And for those who have not met Trish, we normally do the introductions at the beginning, but given we had some time constraints with TSHEPO and his presentation, Trish will definitely be giving us a closing remark, and she'll tell us a bit more about who she is. Steph, I am going to hand over to you now so that you can share with us what you do, the innovation, the gaming stuff, and not just playing TV games. No, it's not that. It's a whole new world of gaming for innovation and for corporate. Thank you very much. Steph, over to you.
I just firstly want to say thank you so very much for inviting me to this panel today. It is such an incredible privilege to be speaking about a lot of the things that I've learned. I'm still very young and still continuously learning. So SIPHOKAZI, I'm with you there. I'm a continuous learner and active in trying to seek knowledge and wisdom and guidance from all of the different sources. So I would just like to encourage everyone, if you do have a question for me during the panel, I'd be very, very honored to answer your questions. I like having interaction. So if you guys can give me a thumbs up to say, yes, I agree with you, like, I would appreciate that. I like the engagement, seeing where you're at, knowing you're present with me. So that's just my call of action for the day. So I have a little bit of an interesting background. I grew up as a city girl in Joburg. I'm very Afrikaans, but I mostly speak English. My days are full of English, and I think that's my new home language. And And I grew up loving the arts, loving music, loving design, loving dancing, loving acting. And that actually led me to go and study in theatre. I wanted to go into drama therapy as I started off in my studies. I went to Wits, and as I continued there, I had a wonderful journey with all of these different designers who I shared a class with, and they were just phenomenal people, and they were known as game designers. Now, these people were interesting to me. It was all of a sudden taking art and merging that with technology, and that to me was such an interesting combination, and I just found it very appealing. So I, halfway through my degree, I switched discourses, and I started doing multimedia design. I started doing animation and psychology along with game design. So not leaving my theatre background, I still majored in theatre and performing arts as well as the digital side. And so if anything, my varsity career taught me so much about resilience. I had it all together as a theatre student, got 92% for all of my courses. And as I switched degrees to game design, I was all of a sudden very far out of my depth, surrounded by people who understood technology in a way that I didn't, who were playing games far longer than I did, who just knew how to speak to computers, which I don't necessarily know how to do very successfully. But thankfully, during that time, it really taught me how to persevere. It really taught me how to adapt to the situation and learn very, very fast. So I took up very strenuously this new career choice of going into games, learning how to code and learning how to do all of these new skills that were so far out of my reach and depth that I actually started doubting myself a lot. During my third year of varsity, I think I was really struggling, and I'm going to give you some insight into me as a person. I was struggling with some panic attacks, and I would probably have one daily, storming out of my class, not knowing how to breathe properly because I'm just so overwhelmed with what has been asked of me. And in my final year of varsity, people started seeing the value in who I was and what I could bring to the table, and started building into who I was in my strength areas. And so I then moved into a kind of different field where I started working as a freelancer for Fed Group, which is a financial services provider, doing gamification for them, building the concepts, building the engagement with staff. And after my fourth year, I moved into a permanent position with them where I took on gamification wholeheartedly. And since then, I've grown into this new platform, into this new kind of way of thinking, doing things that have been far beyond what I ever thought I could do, and just having the opportunity to really step into who I was meant to be with regards to technology, creativity, innovation, and working with people. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about what gamification really is. And so gamification is this idea. It's first of all, it's not games. Gamification and games are not the same thing. People often make that mistake. Gamification uses game mechanics and game elements to drive behavior and drive performance and motivate people to do things. So what happens in gamification, it's built of understanding people, firstly, understanding their needs and understanding how you can get the best out of them. Now, for most businesses, they don't take their employees into account. They're very task focused, very ROI focused, very purpose driven, and often don't take the journey of their employees and their staff into account. They don't take the obstacles that they need to go through to get the task done into account. And gamification allows you to really just hone in on the processes, the experiences, and the obstacles that they have to go through to fulfill the task. And so when businesses take on gamification, it really opens them up to a whole different range of abilities that they can do, processes, data visualization, staff motivation in a whole different way. Now, gamification is a very new thing. And as we know, as TSHEPO has been saying, and as Cass has said previously, change is not something people are comfortable with. And so when you introduce gamification or game mechanics into a system like businesses, you need to do it very slowly. You need to really take them on a journey. It's all about the person at the end of the day. And that's where the resilience of gamification really comes into play, because games have been here since the dawn of time. We've taught multiple lessons through play. We've had a competitive drive through games. We get our social fixes off of the engagement that games provide for us. And so games have been this tool that we've used in so many different generations, and it's surpassed every generation. The teaching through ludic activity and play has been there since cats were alive, you know. And what is nice is that people have also been here since the dawn of time. And so the moment you combine the two, games and learning and play with people, you start combining the most resilient things in everyday life. And so usually you need to try and find a balance when it comes to business, right? You can't just have all fun and games, and you can't just be all about the people. The task needs to be done. And so a way of thinking, there's three key things that you need to understand, or that you need to have to both drive people and to get the task done, right? And that is through mechanics, that is through motivation, that's through measurement. And all of that has to be meaningful. If it's not meaningful, your mechanics, your motivation, and your measuring will all fall flat. And so mechanics is the system that you instill in your environment, the kind of culture. It's the dynamic between people, the relationships that you work on. The measuring is making informed decisions that is led by data. It's led by people's activity. It's everything that can be monitored and seen and tracked, and even things that can help you see whether or not something's going to be predictable. That being said, this data that makes it, that allows you to make meaningful decisions is only meaningful when people are motivated and buy into your concept. So you need to have their motivation to drive the thing. And the moment it's got momentum, it will kind of sustain itself. But everything is meaningless if it doesn't speak to a need that they have, if it doesn't change or fulfill something that there's a gap in. And so it has to be part of their system. It has to be a part of the things that they need to fulfill their task. And it needs to be a part of their everyday things. It needs to contribute to their task and not take away from their tasks. And so for how this relates to businesses, should I say it like that, is one, it allows you to be staff focused, and it empowers your staff to fulfill the task. Once the task is complete, your customers reap the benefits of the motivation and the inspiration you've created for your staff. And so we were talking a lot about bouncing back. You know, the lockdown has created a situation where everyone has the need to bounce back, and some people still feel like they're falling, to be very honest. It's been a really tough ride for many people. And as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, it is your responsibility, as Tiffle said earlier on, to make sure that your staff is looked after. Now, gamification is one small tool to really catch people in the bounce. I read a book, it's called Everybody Always, and it's written by a really incredible author who speaks about free falling out of an airplane. And a lot of the times your parachute, if the ropes are over the actual material, you need to cut it off, and you need to release your extra one. And during this whole process of him trying to learn to skydive, people were, they go through the things you shouldn't do in case of an emergency. It doesn't go through the motions of what it is when things are going right. Obviously, you're preparing for when things go wrong. And so he said that when you're free falling and your parachutes aren't working, a lot of the time, the initial impact of your fall won't kill you. It's in the bounce, the second bounce, where every bone in your body is broken. And that's when you really crash. That's when you die, and that's when you can't go forward. And so it's our responsibility as businesses to take care of our staff and our consumers by catching them in the bounce before they break all their bones, before they lose motivation. And gamification is one tool that you can use to really drive performance and motivate staff in a meaningful way. Now, I see there has been a couple of comments coming through. I think that is, I'm going to try and leave it there. Otherwise, I can continue for hours and hours long.
Thank you, Steph, for that. I think what's most powerful that you've mentioned is around tools. Tools to motivate, tools to empower, and that's exactly what we are doing with this masterclass, is to share such tools. And you are right, when businesses take care of their staff, and obviously then that trickles to their customers as well. And I'm going to open up now for any input, for any questions, any thoughts, anything. I mean, this is a platform for all of us to engage. We'd love to hear from our participants. We want to learn from you too. And what has stood out for you in this discussion? What are you going to take with, or there might be something else that you want to share with us that has worked for you? So please let us engage.
So I have something here. I brought this along with me. It's a mask. We all have masks. But the reason that I actually bought this mask is because I have a little story to tell, and I want to tell it by example. So resilience leads to innovation. And believe it or not, recycled plastic led to this mask, this beautiful, comfortable, amazing mask, which is very much like resilience and innovation. So the reason that I'm showing you this is we're so sick of masks and all these, what we have to do in our new lives and our new normal. But I think this mask is slightly different because these people have really thought out of the box. And what they've done is they've created something that I think the world really needs. And that's what we need to think about, is what the world needs. And, the world doesn't need any more fabric masks. There's loads of them. And the difference between this one is that ultimately it could create, I think, 1, 2, 3, 6 different businesses instead of one small manufacturing business. Because it's made of recycled plastic, people that collect plastic can recycle it and earn a living off it. Then it can go to a manufacturing company who can actually manufacture this into a product. From there, it can get sold anywhere in the world. Or it's a proudly South African product that we should all be supporting. This, in return, adds employment to our country. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was me cracking up. This in turn creates an enormous amount of employment, because the more of these South African masks we can sell, the more South Africans we can employ. And on top of that, it goes in a circle, because if people are collecting plastic and recycling it, it's actually saving our environment. So it really forms a full circle. So instead of thinking short term of just sewing a mask and creating employment, if we can think of the businesses that we're in a bigger picture, we could create so much more. We could create so many more businesses. Plus, the potential of businesses connecting, small businesses or big businesses connecting with so many different parts of one product is enormous. So ultimately, I believe that resilience leads to growth, and growth leads to success.
That's beautiful, Trish. I'd like to just add on to that as well. So I completely agree with you. And that's also something that I've enforced within Jelly and Custard and CP Sounds, obviously pre-COVID, is that, you know, supporting other entrepreneurs, you know, even if it's a one-man show, it takes a lot of work and a lot of bravery to start your own business. So by showing that one person support, you're already just giving them that boost, you know, that they need. Maybe they just weren't going through a good spell. Maybe they just needed someone. Just that one customer can just help boost the business in a direction completely, like that'll help that business completely. So Jelly and Custard, I support. I have an entrepreneur that does a baking. I have the entrepreneur that does her own balloons, and it's all people that I've connected with along my path, and they've all been resilient also, you know, during this tough time. So I definitely agree with you, and 100% it can encourage growth all round.
If I may, I think, you know, it would be such a shame if we went back to normal. It would be such a shame if we went back to the way things were, because the way things were, it was complacent. It was okay. It was working fine. But this has pushed us to look at all of the gaps in our companies. Where are we meant to be plugging the holes? Where are we meant to be fixing the system? Where are things not working? And it's actually shoved it so far up in our faces that we cannot ignore the problems anymore. And so it would be a shame to want to stop seeing the problems, to want to stop fixing the problems and go back to the way things were. You know, I think technology has created such a privilege for us to connect with people and to take care of people and to really have divergent thinking. And so it's very encouraging to see people really stepping out of their comfort zones.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if one of my favorite quotes is around how, especially as businesses, how we should never waste a good crisis. You know, because obviously this crisis gives us the opportunity to do the things that we didn't have time to do. You know, I know in my case, I mean, I'm also somebody who's always resistant to technology. And I'm always the last person to learn about technology. In my group, I was the last one to join Facebook. I'm the last one to join Instagram because of my resistance. But now, we don't have a choice. You know, all of these platforms help us with marketing our businesses or getting exposure or reaching other people. I mean, all of us here, there's 34 of us on this platform currently. We are all in the different corners of South Africa, and we're able to engage. We're able to connect. I mean, I've never met Cassie, but I'm engaging with Cassie, I think, for the past 3 weeks. So there's a lot of opportunity that comes with this crisis. And I would also be very sad if we were to go back to the normal, because actually it wasn't a good place. You know, it really wasn't a good place. I'm going to open up. I can see, I saw Samuel there with his camera coming on. I don't know whether you wanted to say something, but please, would love to hear from our participants. Any closing remarks, anything, any comments, what has stood out for you, what has worked for you, what has kept you going, what is your definition of resilience?
Please also feel free to share what kind of businesses you're in our chat box, because it's a great way for businesses to connect. You know, often we have had a lot of businesses connecting off these webinars, which is wonderful.
I'm also going to invite TSHEPO back on, and perhaps if we're not hearing anything from our participants, but you're always welcome to chip in. Any closing remarks? We are 4 minutes away to 1 o'clock, but I mean, if there is still opportunity to engage, we certainly do so. TSHEPO, if you are still there, any closing remarks from your side?
I think we've lost him.
And I'll open up to SIPHO then, if that's the case. SIPHO?
No, thank you, SIPHO. I think today's session was very informative, and I'm hopeful that these solutions, and I'm glad that South Africa is a land of opportunities, and we have solutions to our challenges. And what is also beautiful is that we underestimate our capability. What is unfortunate is that we underestimate our capabilities. People travel all the way to our country to find solutions. When we travel abroad, people are like, wow, really? Did you do that? So I'm inspired by inputs from Stephanie, from CASSIDY, and from the gentleman, TSHEPO. And I think we need more of these kind of sessions so that our people can learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is definitely all about learning. Any other input? I can see Ernest. Ernest.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, and you?
Hi, Ernest.
Do you have CIPC guys on board here?
CIPC?
Yes.
Unfortunately not. We don't have CIPC on board.
There's something I want to ask them.
Okay. Ernest, what you can do, please do actually, is email me as to people you would like to speak to or hear from on board, because that's exactly what we want to set up for future webinars. So keep us posted if anybody wants to hear from different speakers or experts or has questions to ask. We will obviously do our best to get people like that on board to answer your questions. So please, if you can email us, that'll be great. My email, you can email me at info@liferetreats.co.za.
Can you post it on a comment kindly?
I have posted it. I'll post it again. I'll post it again for you, Ernest. And please, you know, send us exactly not what you require, not what you want to ask them, but who you'd like as an expert on which companies. And that's exactly what the platform is for, to communicate.
Perfect. Thank you, Trish. And thank you, Ernest. Oscar, I see your mic is not on mute, so you must have an input for us, and I'm looking forward to that. Hello, Oscar.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks to yourself.
I'm good. Yeah, it's actually a follow-up question from, I don't know if it's Stephanie who was addressing the gamification. So I want to know how can one gain access to the gamification tools, and how can you incorporate that into your business, you know?
Well, I think what is really great is that knowledge is so accessible to us right now. You know, you can Google anything and, you know, you'll get an answer about it. And so I would definitely start off by just doing some reading from some really innovative gamification experts. There's a book called actionable gamification. And that is a resource that we use in our company to really, really just lay the foundations. What it does is it gives you a vision of what you want to achieve, which is the first thing you need to do, is understand your vision, then understand what you want to get out of people, like what is your objective and what is a need that you can meet with what it is you have to offer. And so what's nice is that gamification doesn't have to just be technology driven. It's all about the journey. And so creating that experience, whatever that looks like in your business, whether it's adding music to your call center or looking at how you can incentivize people to want to do over and above what they're already being paid to do. It's not a fixed session. It's not there's no one right way to do it. If you have the capability of using systems and data and analytics, then that is a great privilege. And from there, I'd really encourage you to make that tangible within your gamification. So adding in the visual consequences to it. But it's a very complex kind of thing with no real one way to do it. So I definitely would just go and look at some of the research and what other people have been doing to start with, to get your ideas going. You know, people can inspire other people with stuff they've done.
Okay,
does that
awesome.
answer?
No, thanks for that answer. Yeah, no, it does. It does. So it's actually causing me to go into the pool of research, you know.
Good. Okay, when you're there, you're going to have to come on board with us and share it. How's that for a challenge?
Sorry?
When you've done it, you're going to have to share it and come on board and share it with us on one of our webinars. There's a challenge. Okay.
No, I'm taking the challenge. Thanks.
Good. I like it.
Great. And then any other questions, any other input before we invite our guest speakers for their closing remarks?
Yes, I'm still here.
Ernest, yes. Let's hear from you again.
Any opportunities on this program?
True. You want to come on and share something with our participants?
No, any opportunities? Any opportunities?
What kind of opportunities are you looking for?
Business opportunities.
So Ernest, on this platform, the webinar platform that we're running,
yes,
we generally have an expert or one or two experts chatting about business, and then a business as a, coming on as a guest, so that the interaction between the experts and the businesses makes it more real for all of us business owners. So it's really a platform for us as businesses, all of us, the guests and the experts, to just inspire each other and offer support for each other. So, if you in our chat box put what you do, there's always possibly other businesses that may pick it up and they may offer you opportunities. So please, put in the chat, put a little bit about yourself in the chat box, and who knows, hold thumbs.
As we are IT guys, we provide internet services and then computer services.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. Write in the chat box, Ernest, with your details so that people know, please.
Okay.
A lot of businesses are connected on this platform, so there's always opportunities for connection.
Okay.
I can see Samuel there. Samuel, would you like to make an input?
No, I just want to say thank you. That's all.
Ooh, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So, Cassie, let's go to you for any closing remarks.
I think just in closing from me, I think just to remember that resilience isn't just about, I think just kind of sweeping things under the rug and getting on with it. I think it's important to deal with whatever you're facing head on, and be open and honest with yourself about it. And if someone needs to give you criticism, accept it as constructive criticism and try and make that change and embrace change. If you, as like, make it your little goal each day, you know, try and do something every day that frightens you. So for instance, I didn't know how to share on Zoom, literally not so long ago. I didn't know how to do it. And okay, today I'm doing it, and I did it. And little things like that will help you kind of get through the change, because I think, as we've been talking about, change is very scary. It's scary for everyone, but we're all adapting and adapting for the better. So I think just take every small challenge, every challenge as it comes. And yeah, just look at resilience in the best of life, in the good life, not just about, oh, I need to be resilient, I need to be like the strong person and just push through and do. Take one thing at a time. Take a minute, take a deep breath, write it down if you need to, phone somebody, get through it. And then if it is innovation that you want to add to, you know, combine with the resilience and get through it for business purposes, do the research like Steph mentioned earlier. Google it. We're so fortunate that we can Google anything we want these days. So use your phone, use your laptop, you know, speak to Trish, speak to SIPHOKAZI if you need advice on anything. I mean, I'm on all social media platforms. I'm happy to also reply to any questions anybody has as an entrepreneur or business ideas. Please just feel free to communicate to people as well, be open about it.
Thank you, Cassie. Can I invite everyone to please mute your mics as we're doing the closing remarks? Steph, any closing words? And Trish, you're going to be next to wrap it all up.
Yeah, I think, you know, we need to understand, and I think this is a trap South Africans fall into. So we're all generalists. And I think understanding, and this is a big part of gamification that is very important and close to my heart, is that you don't always have to be everything for everyone. Choose what it is that makes you unique and stand out, and really run with it. And I think that's part of being resilient. Is resilience isn't just saying yes to everything. It's about knowing who you are and being able to say no when you can't deal with it. That contributes to the authenticity of who you are as a business and who you want working for you as well. And so my closing remark is to really take your craft and hone it. And, you know, use it in a new way, a new refreshing way that will blow people out of this world. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for that, Steph. I really do value that, especially about making it your own. You know, I'm a yoga teacher, and in my practice, I always invite all the yogis to make it their own. You are not expected to do the poses exactly like mine, because we are different. So it is about, so resilience is going to look different for me, and it's going to look different for you. So really, it's all about uniqueness. Trish, partner, let me hand over to you.
Hello and goodbye, everybody. So firstly, I'd just like to thank the PBF and SIPHO. It was great seeing you today. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. And to all the businesses that have come on board and are on board. A lot of people often can't get on, so we do send links to videos and presentations after the webinars to all of them. I feel very grateful to be part of a platform like this, because I just think that chatting about things that are concerning us and putting them into perspective makes it so much easier for us to move on. So as much as we have our experts on board, every person on board is actually part of this growth process, and I really feel privileged to be part of it. And in my closing, what I would like to say is that as consumers, let's encourage ourselves and our families and friends to really work with businesses, support them, and encourage them to change into their new normal. Because if they can change for the better, it's really going to help all of us. It's going to provide more employment. It's going to provide so much more for South Africa, rather than going back to where we were. We must remember that where we were was not perfect. So let's, as consumers, encourage businesses to change, give them ideas, work with their new ideas, see if they work, and support South African businesses, actually, as much as we can. I think that those are my closing words. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, the two SIPHOs, SIPHOKAZI and SIPHO, and to our wonderful experts. Wow, it's always inspiring, and you're awesome today. So thank you for all your wise words of wisdom. I've learned so much. That's why I love being here, because I always feel that I learn so much. And to our guests and participants that were here today, we'll see you next week. Please continue to communicate with us and with each other, and let's make this happen, guys. We're going to do it. South Africa's going to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again. Thank you to our guest speakers. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your journeys of resilience, and inspiring us. And it is true, together we can. Together we are stronger, and it's our South Africa. We are the only ones who can save ourselves from all of this. And this is the great opportunity to do exactly that.